families, it's Susie here again with another creative activity for you to do by yourself or with your family this month. And this month, I would like you to use all of your wonderful creative energy to work with your family on solving problems. We don't often think about it this way, but trying to solve a problem is actually kind of a lot like making art because it often takes a lot of creativity and thinking outside of the box to help tackle a problem, especially really big problems in our lives. When we're faced with a big problem, for example, someone in your life has cancer, you can feel like you don't have any control over the situation, that there's nothing that you can do to make things better for yourself or for your loved one. And you feel really kind of out of control. But what I'd like to share with you today is a way to use some creativity and a simple activity to help you face any problem, no matter how big, and to find ways to give you a feeling of some power over that problem and some real practical things that you can do to deal with the problem, no matter how big, and remind you that you do have some control to make things better. So grab a piece of paper and something to write or draw with, and let's get started. Okay, so for this activity, we're going to start by tracing our hands on paper. And you see I have one of my hands already traced, but we're going to trace both of our hands. And you might need some help with a grown-up to do this, especially if you're tracing your dominant hand, which is for me is this one, my right one. So I might want a family member to trace that for me. And when you trace your second hand, try to have your thumbs and your pointer fingers touching in such a way that it forms what looks like a heart here in the center of your paper. So I'll show you what I mean here. And again, it's a little challenging to trace your own hand. So this is why this could be a great family activity. So you guys can work together and help each other out. Okay, so if you can see here, I'm gonna kind of clean up my lines a little bit. In the center there, my hands have sort of formed a heart. And so now I'm going to turn my paper so I can see that even better. And like I said, we can clean up our lines a little bit later. So we're going to start off by thinking about this area inside of our hands. And wherever you want, however you choose, somewhere inside of one of your hands, I want you to write the words in my control. Okay. This is going to be where we think about the things that are in our control. And if you think about it, hands are a great symbol for something being in your control. Because if something's in our hands, we have control over it, right? For example, this marker that I have in my hand, I have complete control over it right now, right? I can use it to trace and go over my lines. I could set it to the side if I wanted to. I can squeeze it hard. I can loosen it up. It's completely in my control because it's in my hands. Okay. So in this other area, this blank section outside of your hands, I want you, wherever you choose to, I want you to write the words out of my control. Okay. And again, if we think of this marker, if I have it in a box somewhere out of my reach and I don't have it in my hands, it's completely out of my control. I can't make marks with it unless I pick it up and it's in my hand. Okay. So we're going to think about a problem, any problem that you feel like you would like to tackle either by yourself or as a family, something that's really stressing you out. Maybe it's causing you to feel really worried and upset. And whatever that problem is that you'd like to tackle, you're going to write that somewhere at the top of your page. So for the sake of this video and for this demonstration of this activity, I'm going to focus on that problem that I brought up at the beginning. And that's a problem that I think most kids and families who are watching this video right now share. And that's probably why they're watching this video. And that's the problem, the big problem of someone in my life who I love has cancer. So I'm going to write that at the top of the paper, okay? My loved one has cancer. And if it's mom or dad or grandma, you might want to write that on the top of your paper, okay? All right, so now this problem feels really big, and you might be feeling there's nothing you can do to tackle it, but that's what we're going to do next. And we're going to start to tackle that problem by thinking about the area on the outside first, okay? And these are all of the things that are outside of your control when you think about the fact that your loved one has cancer. So what are those things? If you're doing this as a family and this is the problem that you want to tackle, you might want to pause the video now and have a conversation as a family about what things you want to put here. But for the sake of the video, I'm going to help us to think through that. So when I think about the things that are out of your control, when it comes to cancer, let's think the diagnosis, right? The fact that your loved one even has cancer is completely out of your control. It's not something you did or anyone else did. It's something that happened, and that's out of your control. And we can't control the treatment, right? We're not doctors, and we can't control what kind of medicine our loved one gets or how much they have to get or how long it lasts. Completely out of our control. We also can't control how the treatment affects our loved one, right? Sometimes treatments make people sick, and sometimes they lose their hair, all sorts of things that can happen because of treatment that are completely outside of our control. We also can't control our loved ones' feelings, how they feel physically or even how they feel emotionally or mentally. That's not ours to control. We can't control what people share with us, right? Especially if you're a kid, sometimes your parents or the grown-ups in your life choose not to tell you things or, you know, maybe tell you some things, but not all things. And we can't control what is shared with us by the grown-ups in our life. Our parents' jobs, you know, sometimes cancer can affect jobs. People have to take leaves, maybe they have to quit their job altogether, and that's completely out of our control. So along with that, we can't control any of the financial parts of cancer, right? The costs of medical bills, or again, how it affects our parents' finances, those are completely outside of our control. And we can't control other people. We can't control other family members, friends, neighbors. We can't control how they react or how they offer to help or don't offer to help. The questions that they might ask. We can't control how other people react and behave to this problem. Okay, so there's a good amount of things here on the outside that we don't have control over. And again, that can feel overwhelming when we're thinking about those. But let's move into the inside of our hands, into the area where we do have some control. And let's think about what those things might be. Again, you might pause this if you're tackling this problem as a family and think about what things you want to write here. But when I think about it, I think about my words and my actions, right? We're always in control of our words and our actions, our thoughts, the way we think about the problem, whether we choose to focus our thoughts on things to be hopeful for and positive about, or whether we focus our thoughts on negative things. Those are completely in our control. Information, learning, right? Sometimes people are really helped by learning more information about cancer and about the treatment. If that's something that you feel like would be helpful to you, you can control whether you read and learn about what's going on. You can ask questions, right? That's in your control. If you feel like you would like to know more, you can control what you talk about, right? If you want to talk and share with people in your life, with a counselor, you want to participate in Families Connect, right? You can choose how much you do that, if that's helpful to you. You can also control how you're feeling and doing, right? So we talk about a loved one having cancer, but really a whole family is the one dealing with cancer. And so everyone's affected. And so you can, while you can't necessarily take care of your loved one's cancer, you can take care of yourself by doing things that are good for you and that make you feel good. So if it's like walking or listening to music, maybe doing something physical, like taking a run, eating healthy, what you put in your body, you're in control of all of that. And those things can often help you to feel better, okay? So there's a good amount of things here as well that are inside your hands and inside of your control. Now let's look to this section that's the heart, right? Kind of a wonky heart, but it's a heart. And this is the area where your hands are touching. And this is actually, it's about touching. It's about the things that we can have a little bit of influence over. We can't completely control these things, but we can touch on them and we can have a little bit of effect on them by the things that we do. So when we think about your loved one having cancer, we want to think about how can we actually help them to feel better, right? We can't take the cancer away and we can't change that outcome, but we can have an influence on helping our loved one to feel better while they deal with this really big problem. So how can we do that? Well, we can spend time with our loved one. We can give hugs and back rubs. We can tell them jokes, anything that helps them maybe to lift their spirits or to feel more relaxed and comfortable. And what other things can we do? We can offer to help around the house. So chores, maybe offering to help with our brother or sister, even just getting along with them can be helpful. Peace in the house can help a person who's sick to feel a little bit better. Or maybe just making them something, make a card or some breakfast. Or maybe just asking how they're doing or feeling. Sometimes just showing interest in how somebody's doing is a big way to help them to feel better. So again, lots of things here in this area that we can have some influence on and we can make a difference by the things that we choose to do. So here's my finished image. And when you look at yours, when you look at all of these things, I want you to think about, where do you typically put most of your energy? Where do you spend your most time? Do you spend your most time thinking about all these things down here that are outside of your control? And, you know, because most of us do, when we have a big problem that's really stressing us out, we're actually usually spending a lot of time focusing and thinking about all of these things that are actually outside of our control that we can't do anything about. And that can be really overwhelming. It's really exhausting to be reaching and stretching and trying to grasp and hold on to something that is actually completely out of our reach. And that's what these things are down here. So in order to feel better and to help yourself to feel less anxious and overwhelmed, and like you actually might be able to do something about your problem, try to shift your focus into these things in your hand and in your heart area where you actually do have some control and you can make some choices and take some action to help yourself and your family to feel better. The things that are in our hands, the things that we can touch, are the things that we can really have influence over. So try this activity with this shared problem or with any problem that you and your family might be facing. And when you're finished, try coloring in your hands and in this heart area and make it look really colorful and beautiful. And then hang that up. And maybe you can look at it during times when the problem at the top becomes kind of overwhelming and starts to feel really big again, because that will happen with problems. Sometimes we feel like we've got them and we're tackling them, and sometimes they start to feel really big and overwhelming again. And when that happens, shift your focus again onto the things that are inside of your hands and your heart and inside of your control. And I bet that you'll start to feel a little bit more power over your problem and a little bit better about what's going on in your life. Okay. I hope that this activity was helpful to you and your family. And I will be back again next month with another activity to use your creativity and to help you on your cancer journey. Take good care. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.